Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the Capote tapes, and this is from filmmaker Ebs Burnough, and this is Ebs' first real project. It's the only credit on IMDb, and this film focuses on the life and legacy of Truman Capote, and at this point, there's been a lot of iterations of Capote in pop culture. Like, it's hard not to think about Capote with Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's absolutely fantastic, which seems like such an odd choice because, like, Truman Capote has this voice, and it's so hard to, like, hear that voice and it not border on, like, caricature. And, watching Capote and hearing Philip Seymour Hoffman just embody it was so incredible. And then you have other things, like, I know there's a Capote Williams documentary that I hope gets around to being on VOD at some point, but this just dropped on VOD because this had been out in theaters a while ago this year, 2021. And, I'm always down for really quality documentary, and this film is very sleek, it's very stylish, it captures an aesthetic that channels that era, and like this documentary feels like you're kind of whisked away into that era. You do have a lot of interviews with like friends and enemies, including his adopted daughter, who I think brings a lot of very interesting perspective to this documentary, and I think she's probably like the MVP to me of those doing the commentary in this film, because you get a different kind of perspective there. Because, you have a bunch of old white dudes and one very fabulous older black man with just this giant, like, draped cape across him, who talk a lot about who Truman Capote was and what he represented. Like, there's one big part talking about the balls that he put on, and, like, probably the most, when this one particular man described it as, like, the most significant ball of the 20th century. And I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but, my first reaction while watching it, turning to my fiance and my friend Paige and her boyfriend John as we were watching this, was, I'm pretty sure AC/DC has them, right? And if you don't get that reference, maybe not look up the song, unless you have a sense of humor. But anyway, this film, I think, is a really, like, it has a very classy feel to it. I think that channels the expression and the aesthetic of Capote, and I think that's one of the best things about this film is, like, this feels like it would be a documentary about Truman Capote. You find out a lot about Truman Capote in this, and, like, I don't know if this quite goes past, like, a narrative structure of just, your standard, like, I watched this on A&E kind of biopic documentary, but there's a flair and a style to it that Burnough brings that really elevates the film in that way to match the class, the style, and the aesthetic of Truman Capote. And I feel like they had enough interesting commentators on this film and enough style to make this an interesting and engaging documentary. I really appreciated all the different scenes that they show of just, like, actual Capote. And, it's tough when you're doing a documentary on somebody who, like, was like, actually having footage. But when you're able to bring in that kind of footage and it makes it feel like this character's coming to life on screen, I think that really helps, and I think it benefits this film. I think this is a quality documentary, and I learned quite a bit. I don't know if I would go as far as saying that, like, this is a transcendent kind of documentary, but does everyone have to be? I think this one is a really quality documentary, and if you're really into these biopics, I think this is a really well-made one, and I would be interested to see more documentaries made by Ebs Burnough if they wind up making them, because, this could have just been a passion project, but I'm definitely interested in seeing more, and I think you should go check this one out on VOD. But those are my thoughts on the Capote tapes. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.